Hello there, it's Mark here. I've got my KWC Mauser M712 apart. This is basically the full field strip situation. Going to show you how it goes back together again today, and also point out a few little bits and bobs that I've done to the pistol since I bought it. First thing is the wood grips. Proper wood grips. They do look nice and authentic. Cheapies from eBay, I think made in India probably. They do take quite a lot of dremeling to go on. You do end up with some gaps because they're designed to go on the genuine pistol, not the replica. There are some slight differences in the design of the actual broom handle part, but they look the part, and it took a while to get them on, but there we go. I've also put a more sturdy lanyard ring on because the one that came with the gun was basically a piece of very thin bent metal, so I've put basically a key ring in there, which is much more sturdy. Done a little bit of polishing as well, so the front of the slide is now polished up just to give it a little bit of shine. There's also some weathering as well, which I'll show you a little bit more close up once I've actually got the gun back together. So this is basically the complete strip down. If you're going to be doing a proper clean, this is the situation that you'll get it to. Putting it back together again is a little bit fiddly, so hopefully it's going to go smoothly. Let's give it a try and see what happens. So that's the bolt, for want of a better word. Now the rails on the slide, they only start right at the back, so you can drop the bolt and the slide in quite far along. At least you should be able to. It worked okay in rehearsal, folks. They always make this sort of thing look so much easier on Blue Peter, don't they? But yeah, the hammer gets in the way a bit. So anyway, there we go. Right, so that's the slide and the bolt back in place and all looking good. And then your fake barrel goes inside the main barrel. So we're all good there. Now getting these little retainers to go in is a little bit fiddly. I think it's probably easier with the genuine Mauser. Basically, you have to make sure that you've got them the right way round. So it's worth checking before you put it back in, which is what I'm just doing there, because they only go in one way. You have to make sure that the back plate matches up with the retainer there. So the back plate goes in. And what you don't want to do is jam it into the coils of the spring, because that would be a bad thing. And that's what I've just done, because damn, I'm good. So that should be it in place. If you use a little Allen key or something like that as a probe, then that normally works quite well. So that's that one. Once again, pushing the spring forward with the Allen key, and then drop the main retainer in. And the idea of the retainer is basically it stops the slide from flying out if you've got an actual Mauser, because with the blowback action the slide is under quite a lot of pressure, so that's basically what that little retainer is there for. Now this Allen bolt goes in place of the firing pin on the original. Should just slide in nice and easily. Just do it up. Bit of a tweak there. Obviously you're tightening into alloy, so you don't want to go too mad, but just basically before the Allen key starts bending, you know you're pretty much up to torque. Now anyone who's seen the first video will remember how much fun this little spring is. So what I've ended up doing with it is bending the tail out on the short end of the spring, so that when it goes back on, It's actually standing a little bit proud of the surface that it's sitting on. And what I've also done is, you probably can't see this very well because of the camera angle and etc. But I've basically machined a little bit of a rebate in there with a Dremel. So there's actually somewhere for the spring to sit. So when I put this little gidget back in, and I still have no idea what it does, by the way, boys and girls. When I put this little gidget back in, get it all lined up. So I've still got the short tail of the spring poking out there. But if you use a little thin probe like a toothpick, you can give it a bit of a push underneath the plate, and it should just all pop back into place again, like that. And what was happening originally was whenever I moved this, it was popping back out again. And now, because the tail of the spring is sitting inside that little rebate, that is kind of preventing that happening before you put the pistol back together again. So of course then you can just basically slide the trigger grip into place, like so. That's it, it's all back together again. Put the magazine in. Check the action. Yep, all works fine. So, done a little bit of weathering. As I said before, I have done some polishing. Polished up the bolt, the slides, just to make it look a little bit more authentic. Lost a little bit of, the paint on as many of the high points as I could. Still haven't quite got the hammer and the safety catch done, but getting there, slowly but surely. And this is what I use, is this Magic Eraser sponge. Put a drop of water on it, it only has to be very, very lightly moist, and then you just rub like crazy. And eventually, you start taking a little bit of paint off of the high points. You don't want to go too mad, otherwise you're just going to end up stripping all of the paint off. You get a load of dust everywhere. That was one of the reasons why I ended up doing the full field strip, because the crap from this was just everywhere, so I had to take it all apart, give it a good clean up. And that basically is that. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll probably be posting something about one of my other pistols at some point in the near future. Thank you, bye.